Texas fans, I'm back after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to talk about takeaways I have from LSU at Texas. Now, first, yes, I'm going to take every opportunity to gloat because I told you that this game would be won by LSU, and I told you they would cover. And they won, and they covered. More on that on the channel later. But let's start with LSU, get to Texas later because I got things for Texas. But Joe Burrow passing for 471 yards is legit awesome for LSU because there's no way that Joe Burrow should have ever been passing for anywhere close to 500 yards on anybody, let alone a top 10 team. And no matter what we think about Texas, the ranking is the ranking, number 9 in the country. And they were playing at home at 102 degrees. So I get home from my job covering Oklahoma versus South Dakota because, you know, I do this show called the RJ Young Show on the Tulsa Animal, and I write at OUinsider.com. Doesn't matter if they're playing an FCS opponent. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch it. And then I get home after doing my work, and I watch Texas and LSU. And I'm amazed at just how badly the secondaries performed, while also how great they performed. And yes, Grant Delpit is that dude, right? Selection committee member on the Jim Thorpe Award. I remember Grant Delpit came on my radar last year, and you could make an argument that he was the best DB in their secondary, even with Greedy Williams being at corner. But that dude has a sixth sense for the football. He's able to wrap up in tackles. He can absolutely play. And I thought that defensive backfield would outmatch Sam Ehlinger and wide receivers at Texas. I just didn't think they'd be able to play with them. It's proved wrong, all right? They could absolutely run with Delpit. Derek Stingley is a dude, man. I mean, the game didn't go in such a way that he could go get picks and whatnot, but you could see why most people made him not just the number one corner in the country, but to many people's minds, the number one player in the country, because that dude, as a true freshman or in the starting position, he's returning punts. It's just not normal at DBU. And yes, it is DBU. And DBU gave up over 400 yards of passing to Sam Ehlinger. Again, not a thing that I had on the radar, but you're watching this game, and they can't get anything going in intermediate. They can't get anything going shallow because LSU's just too fast. So what you're left with is throwing balls up deep to guys like Brennan Eagles, 116 yards, right? Devin Duvernay has solidified himself as the dude in the slot, and then we all know what Colin Johnson can do. But from LSU standpoint, still got some work to do. The offense started to actually pick up later on in the game. Joe Burrow was at the center of everything that they did well, and I think that was what you wanted. That's why you brought on Joe Brady to help Enswinger, just try to figure that out and get the offense going in a direction that could challenge for an SEC championship. The defensive line cannot go deep. Now, you could also make an argument that, hey, man, is it ever going to be that hot again? Are they ever going to have to play a second unit like they played the second unit against Texas? Probably not, but you would think going in from the Bayou to Austin would not be that big a deal, but this point was made to me by my best friend as he was basically talking to me on the way home for watch this game. Hey, man, it ain't hot in Louisiana like it's hot in Texas, like it's hot in Oklahoma. It's humid. Yes, it's humid, but it ain't hot like that. And when your kickoff temperature is 102 degrees, yeah, that's going to be a factor, and it certainly was, as was the atmosphere. Texas fans showed up in droves. Nothing less than what I expected at DKR, but you got to give it up to LSU going in there to get a W in a high-scoring affair. And I expect it to be a high-scoring affair. One of the other things that I found just fascinating about all of this, look, we could talk about Joe Burrow at 471 yards. We could talk about Justin Jefferson, 9 catches, 163 yards. But I want to talk about Devin Duvernay showing everybody what he can do. Double-digit catches. Great way of keeping them in the game. Even as, yeah, we got to talk about it. I was embarrassed for Keontae Ingram as much as, you know, I'm not going to root for Texas because I say that an OU fan rooting for Texas against LSU is like rooting for Scar to throw Mufasa from the rock so that Simba can win. First, you're the monster. And second, Simba, like Oklahoma, doesn't need your help. All right? And when you look at the wins and loss columns, it says 2-0 for Oklahoma. It says 1-1 for Texas. You could talk about quality of losses versus FCS opponents. You can just schedule. This is also a good place for me to bring up that the game that LSU originally scheduled for this date and this slot was Oklahoma. Then they went and picked up Texas. Tells you what they think of Oklahoma, tells you what they think of Texas. So we had to fill the spot over at Oklahoma with South Dakota, right? They didn't want the game. They got the game from Texas. They got the win against Texas. You can make an argument about how that game would have gone if they had to play an Oklahoma team at this juncture, but the argument is just that, an argument. What we know is LSU got a W, Texas did not. I think Texas acquitted itself well. I think it's for sure going to drop out of the top 10. I don't think it's going to drop out of the top 25. I think voters really love the performance, and they love Sam Ehlinger, and they like Tom Herman. You can't have 14 points left off the board, man, especially when it was a 7-point game. Keontae Ingram catches that pass, TD. That's it, 7-3, right? But you got to gift back because you got the pick, you got it in goal line territory, and then you can't punch it in from the half-yard line twice. That can't happen. Now, big ups to LSU and its defensive front because they certainly showed up to play in those early, parts of the game where they still had their legs. But the more that I watched this game, the more it just, it kind of came open. And I think that Texas found a left tackle. My good, Cosme. Like, you were a man out there. Like, I enjoyed watching him play football. I was also really interested in how Texas's offensive line was able to manage the defensive front at LSU in the second half. Like, yeah, I could make an argument about the second unit and, not being the top of the depth chart, but everybody has to play their number twos. In some places, their number threes on defense because that's just the way it goes. And you got to be able to go 6 deep on the defensive line. If you can't go 6 deep on the defensive line, you're probably not going to be able to win a national championship. Clemson could go 8 deep last year. That's one of the reasons why they were so good. I think they're going to need to be able to go 6 deep to go into Tuscaloosa and get a W because I think that's coming quickly the marquee game that everybody wants to see. But a huge win for not just LSU, but LSU in recruiting. Ed Orgeron gets a signature victory. I mean, you could talk about Tom Herman. You could talk about Texas. You could talk about what they needed to do. This was the biggest game that they'd had in nearly, 15 years? They wanted every bit of this, and they got it, right? National eyes. We were in the press box having to keep our eyes on Oklahoma playing South Dakota and then cut away to just try to catch glimpses of what was going on with this Texas game. Now, I made jokes in the preview because that's kind of what I do, right? I make jokes. But I make jokes that are interspersed with facts. One of those facts was he had 1 scholarship running back at running back. Roschon Johnson actually outrushed Keontae Ingram, right? I mean, he looked better. And you can make an argument about whether or not he could be a capable running back in the future, and he probably will have to be going forward. But I don't know if that means that he's going to continue to play running back. We'll see. We know that Tom Herman has made a habit of bringing in a couple of quarterbacks the last couple cycles, right? Casey Thompson was the one that, you had the OU commit to Oklahoma. He flips, goes to Texas. That dude is now at Utah. And now you got Kendall Thompson back there. This year in the 2020 class, you have Hudson Card and Jaquindon Jackson. It's a good philosophy to have. I also think that if it helps you put more athletes on the field, then that's what you should do, and if that gives you an opportunity to win. I also didn't think that Sam Ehlinger was going to be able to throw the ball all over the yard, and he wasn't. He airmailed more than he should have, but that's also in keeping with who Sam Ehlinger is. I didn't expect him to magically turn into Trevor Knight, although Trevor Knight magically turned into Sugar Bowl Trevor Knight. So you could take that either way if you wanted to. I thought this game was outstanding, quite honestly. I really enjoyed watching it, and I'm not sure what to make of either one of the defensive backfields except to say I see pros on both sides. Caden Stearns is really, really, really good. Jones is really good. Foster's really good. On the other side, I mentioned Stingley, Delpit, Christian Fulton. Those guys are all really, really good. You could talk about maybe that the atmosphere was that big a deal or everybody got tired. Either way, over 800 yards, nearly 900 yards through the air in this game. 45-38, it hit the over. It was so much fun to watch, right down to 3rd and 17, and you complete a bomb that gets lots of yak, and you win the game on the road. Joe Burrow, with his Heisman moment, I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I don't think he's that great at quarterback, but he had a moment. Good for him. He is the quarterback that they needed at LSU. He fits in for what they're trying to do at LSU, and he has them undefeated in the SEC West, which is, that's not an easy thing to do. Now, I know they haven't had a conference game, but you get where I'm going with this, right? Because A&M took a loss to Clemson earlier in the day. That's it. Big ups to LSU. Texas, you acquitted yourself well. That's about all I got to say with it, other than I'm going to use the crying kid joke. is yours now. Like the meme, we've taken it from the Northwestern kid. We've given it to you. It belongs to you now. But remember, when I'm picking winners, I'm picking them because I know. All right. Doses.